Today is, okay, July 31st. This is an interview for the Birmingham Civil Rights Oral History Project at the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute. This is Benny Miles, and it's taking place on July 31st, 1996 at 10 a.m. And my interview is with Clifton Casey. Good morning, how are you?
Fine, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great, doing great. We're happy that you could share some of your time and your experiences with us relative to the movement, the civil rights movement, and things that happened to you here in Birmingham. Are you from Birmingham? You were born in Birmingham?
Yes, born in Birmingham.
Okay. When you were growing up, when you remember yourself, as I sometimes say, what age were you when you remembered you were 5, 6, 8, what?
I can remember back things that happened when I was, I guess about 4 or 5.
Okay.
People say a lot of things that you were kids, you think you remember, actually something that you have heard somebody repeat, or someone tell a story which involved you. And so then, as you hear this as a kid, and as you get older, you think you remember this stuff. So, but I can remember a lot of things that happened back when I was a kid.
Where did you live in the beginning in Birmingham? Where did your parents live? What section of the city?
I lived in North Birmingham on 24th Street and 25th Avenue, which is
Okay.
now Finley and 24th.
Okay. And did you have brothers and sisters?
Yes.
Where did you fit in? Younger, older, in between? Where were you?
Well, my set of siblings, I was in the middle.
Okay, the middle child. What about your parents? What did your dad work outside of the home, and what about your mom?
Yes, my mom, unfortunately, stay in the home, didn't really a housewife. My dad worked for the railroad, L&N Railroad.
Oh, that must have been very interesting.
He was. I had an opportunity to ride trains for free.
Yeah. So what did he do for the
I
railroad?
was a fireman.
What did a fireman do? Put out fires, or as we see in the movies, put the coal in those in the furnace to make the train run, or?
That's what he did. He spent his career shoveling coal and steam engines.
Really?
That's what he did.
It must have been very warm in the winter, but very hot in the summer.
I guess it was. He died when I was a kid, so I don't remember him talking much about his work. But after that, I went to work for the railroad in Covington, Kentucky,
Mm-hmm.
Cincinnati, Ohio, Covington, Kentucky. And so from talking to the guys that was around when the days of steam engines, I learned a lot about what he probably did,
Okay.
and also things that he went through, which talking to people that knew him here in Birmingham, people that worked with him and stuff like this.
We're going to talk a little bit about that, but let's go back a little bit and talk about you and your mom. So how many kids were there, including you?
5 of them.
5 children.
Mhm.
Your mom was a homemaker,
Mhm.
and you lived in North Birmingham.
Exactly.
What was it like in the community? Were you considered rich, poor, or average, in your opinion, growing up? How were things? Did you have big meals all the time, or how was it?
Well, that's growing up in our neighborhood. Yes, I would say, looking back now, I would say yes, we did have more than a lot of people in the neighborhood. In fact,
Yeah.
my father did have a good job. He
Yeah,
was
the
a
real,
minister.
yeah. Oh, he was a minister
Yes,
too?
also he was like an entrepreneur to an extent.
Okay.
So we had the little neighborhood sandwich shop, as we call it.
Did you really?
Yes.
So who, your mom made sandwiches, or your dad? So how?
No, my dad, I don't think he actually worked in there. He'd be around them when he was alive, but most of the family, he had people come in and work the place and so forth. We sold sandwiches. And
What kind of sandwiches? Do you remember the name of the store?
it was called Casey's Sandwich Shop.
Okay. And different people other than your mom worked in there?
My mom never worked in this. This was built. It was built. I think it was started before she died, but it wasn't completed after she had died.
Okay. But it was your dad's business,
Right.
and people worked in the store selling sandwiches.
Right. I did too.
Okay. What about your home? The house. What kind of house did you have?
We had a nice house. It was big.
Mm-hmm.
We had,
Was it a frame house of wood or was it brick?
it was a frame house,
Okay.
big backyard. We had dogs and pets, and chickens. And,
Oh, chickens too?
yes, back then people had chickens in the city.
So did they lay eggs or did you cook them? Or, not the eggs, but were the chickens that you just raised for the eggs or did you have fried chickens?
We raised them for the eggs and also we had fried chicken.
Oh, really? So how did you kill the chickens? I mean, what did you? Is it like in the cartoons? Did you just wring their necks or do you remember?
That probably was done some, but I remember taking the axe.
Oh, my. Did you do it one time?
I'm sure I did.
Whose job was it to use the axe to?
It probably is whoever was go to the chicken. But I'm sure at the time we had chickens, it probably was I can't actually recall cutting a chicken's head off myself,
Okay.
but it probably was adults who did that.
Okay. But did you go to the chicken house to get the eggs?
That was my job, to feed chickens every morning and collect the eggs.
Really? So when you went to get the eggs, were the chickens off of the nest or did you have to move them? Tell us about that.
You just chase them out. You just chase the chickens out of it. You know, when you put your hand in the nest, the chicken would move and come out.
Okay. Well, did you ever keep any of the eggs to make them turn into little baby chicks?
Yes, we did use some of the eggs to have, to replenish the stock of those.
How did the chicken taste? Do you recall? Just like any other chicken, right?
Like chicken.
I
I do remember the eggs was it was eggs. It wasn't they were chemicals. They was always bigger and some of them had double yolks. It was darker than eggs are now.
Does the
Country
outfit-
eggs.
Okay, so they were like those brown eggs you do the shell.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So that, and I guess during that time you really don't pay any attention to it until after you become an adult and you look back and say, wow, look what we used to do.
Yeah, we grew up, we didn't know whether we had chickens, I didn't have chickens. We owned our home, some people did not, but we never knew the difference. I never realized the difference between myself and my peers, and all of my brothers and sisters did neither. Between us and other kids in the neighborhood, it was all just one. It was a neighborhood. Everybody, we wanted, somebody had a problem, they shared. It wasn't no crime. And it was just, it was something that I can look back now and really feel very proud of. But it says as far as a status,
Excuse me.
as far as wealth or something, or what we had, no, that was not the case.
But it was just a wonderful feeling.
Right, we all was kids, we all lived in the same neighborhood. We played together, we went to school together. It wasn't this thing now where kids, they want us to start strategizing themselves, the hierarchy and so forth, about what we all wore the same thing.
Okay.
Blue jeans, no shoes in the summer.
Oh yeah? So you mean like outside playing or going to school? You went to school?
Going to school with shoes.
But just down around the house
Right,
playing?
playing, we would cut off blue jeans, or cut off shorts, cut off pants or something, and a t-shirt, everybody was the same. It wasn't, there was no difference. I never recall a difference between myself and any kids in there no matter what they had. It was not a materialistic type environment.
Okay. Well, and you said your dad was a minister.
Right.
Did he have his own church, or was he a minister at a church that there was another pastor?
Well, he had his own church for a while, and also he was an assistant pastor or something at another church.
Okay. Do you remember the church where he was the pastor?
I think
That's okay.
it was called a Holiness Church. I have a picture at home. It was
really?
It was a Holiness Church.
And what was the difference in a Holiness Church and a Methodist or Lutheran or Catholic or Baptist?
I'll take that back. It was not. It was a C. It was he was CME.
Okay.
CME. But then after he died, the church turned to Holiness Church.
Okay, so he was seeing me.
Right.
And you said your dad died when you were young?
Right, in 1954.
At what age were you when your father?
I was 9 years old.
Do you remember, was he ill or was it something that happened at the railroad?
Just, he was 72 years old.
Okay, okay. And what about your mom?
Mom died in 1950 when I was 51, I was 65 years old.
Okay, so what happened after your mom and dad did your mom remarry or your dad remarried?
No, he didn't. We had governors and housekeepers.
So who was the oldest? You had relatives or you said a governor, so who took care of the kids?
Right. Some of them was relatives, some of them was just people that he would employ her, take care of us, get a house and so forth while he worked and did everything. Then in 1954, a half sister came and was took care of us, 53.
Okay, so she was older, so that.
Right, she was a former marriage that she came and raised.
Okay. What was life like in North Birmingham for you? You mentioned how wonderful it was as a child. Did you all continue to stay in that house, or did you move to another neighborhood at a later time?
We stayed in that house until 1963, the summer when the family moved to Cincinnati, Ohio.
Okay. Why did the family move to Ohio?
We lived next door. Next door to our house was a church.
Mm-hmm.
It was called the Triumph Church. It was a small church. And about, I think it was about March 8th, I can't remember the exact date, but the church was blown up.
Oh my, were you at home, you recall?
I recall it. Yes, I recall it.
Like it was yesterday?
Like it was yesterday.
Take us back to that time. Were you outside playing? Were you at home in the bed? Or tell us what you remember.
It was, I had got a little transistor radio for my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a little small thing. It didn't get very good reception.
Is a transistor radio something like a Walkman today, but without the plug? Or?
Yes, like a Walkman without the plugs. Ran off of batteries. And it was the latest thing at that time.
Okay.
It was the hottest thing.
Yeah.
And I got it my birthday. And the best reception was at night.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, JLD or WEN went off at 10 o'clock.
Okay. Do you remember who the disc jockey or the announcer
I
was?
want to say Shelley Playboy.
Probably Shelley the Playboy.
I want to say.
Or Willie McKinstry.
Yeah, one of those two.
Okay.
It was 10 o'clock at night. And they would play, the Motown records and so forth. And I could get my lesson listening to them.
Mm-hmm.
So that night, that's what I did. I was sitting in the kitchen at the dining room table, getting my lessons to radio. The radio goes off at 10. Nobody was up with me. I cut the lights off, go get in the bed.
Mm-hmm.
And my bedroom was on the same side of the church.
Okay.
And notice I got in the bed before I would go to sleep. This big, I'm sure there was noise, but I can remember the big flash of light.
Okay.
And I remember going to church and they would say that, that God would come in a flash of light, and goes out the morning and so forth. So this is why I just knew. I said, He's here.
God's here to take me, huh?
God's here.
Mm-hmm.
And I jumped out of bed and went to run toward the front of the house.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said before, my sister Ruth was raising and taking care of us. And I guess she knew that she was in bed, that I was up in the dining room study. And so I guess probably her thing was something happened back at the house, and the noise and the flash and so forth. And we met, like in the middle of the house, it's in the dark.
Two ships passing over the night,
Right.
running into each other.
She ran up to my hand, I'm trying to run out what's going on. And she said, what else? I don't know. So I just saw a big flash of light. And naturally looked at the door and so forth, and people came out. And there was a guy across the street named Mr. Hatchett.
Mm-hmm.
And he was on his porch late at night, I think he was something. And somebody said, at this time you see lights come on, people come out on the porch. Somebody said, I think it's at the church.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, it needs to be loud noise. And so we really hollered back and forth across the street. Everybody's afraid to go out the door. We stand in the doorways hollering back and forth. And then somebody called the police, they discovered that it was a bomb that they put on the bomb or dynamite, something that blew with
The church?
up. And at this time, this was the time when things were really getting hectic as far as the confrontation and so forth.
Oh, in the movement, you mean?
In the movement.
Okay, let's hold that point and go back before the bombing. Were there anything going on in that community, as you just indicated? Tell us about what was happening in the community. Is that when Reverend Shuttlesworth was over that way, or things happened? And after you tell that, we'll go back to that night. So what more or less precipitated this bombing is what we want to go back to.
Butlins had blown up Shuttleworth Church a couple of times. One of Shuttleworth's daughters was my sister's classmate, which I can't remember the exact name.
It's okay.
She was injured in one of the bombs and so forth. We had relatives living on what they call Dynamite Hill or Smithfield Hill.
Mm-hmm.
They had bombed up there around houses and so forth. It had been several instances this type of bombing. Ku Klux Klan marching. The only time I ever saw Ku Klux Klans in uniform was once they had a parade down on the street.
On your street?
This was I was a kid. I remember that.
About what age were you then?
I can't remember the age, but I can remember riding and marching down the street.
Okay.
24th Street. I can't remember what age. Like I do remember. They're like, get in the house.
Was it at night or during the day?
In the daytime, bro, in the daytime.
And they'd have on those sheets and on their heads and
Shoots
the
in the
whole.
hoods.
Were you frightened? What did you remember the adults saying?
Well, at that, then I sort of like had a lot of trust, a lot of confidence in the fact that in the big security of being home with my family. We was one of this talk of if you have a problem, come home. Home is secure.
Yeah.
And that was what we was taught to believe. And this was one of the deciding factors that I think that was a decision in my sister moving us from Birmingham to back to Ohio.
Okay, so let's go back then to that bombing that night, and the people in the community were saying it's the church,
Mm-hmm.
and the police were called.
Right, the police was called. I can't remember what happened there, but I remember her saying one thing. Like I said, we always was taught to believe and felt that home is safe and secure.
Sure.
So when that was breached, I can remember Ruth saying that night, she said, it's time to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And, see, just too much was happening and so forth. And it was, I was on TV, the demonstrations and the confrontation, with the Freedom Riders and so forth. I can remember when the Freedom Riders came to Birmingham. I remember him, talking about that and so forth. And it was just a time that was really, it was dangerous.
Okay.
Just dangerous. And she knew that we was at the age for the fact that she had a very fear of us getting involved and getting hurt. Her job was more or less to protect us. That was what she was there for.
She wanted to do that.
Right, and this was it. So she had this fear, and she kept telling us, don't try to get involved in that because in fact,
anything can happen.
anything can happen. It's like everybody's fear was more of somebody getting hurt.
Mm-hmm. What happened? Okay, after the bombing, did you get involved? Did you or your brothers and sisters, or obviously you had a sister because Ruth was one sister, but did any of you get involved in the movement through high school or your church or anything like that?
Well, my two sisters was away in college, so just basically the three boys was there,
Mm-hmm.
and I never really got involved, and it's sort of ironic. I mean, I will say this with pride, the fact that I never really, we never get involved in it.
Okay.
Until May the 2nd, when they talked about it at school and so forth. It wasn't a topic of discussion.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as me to become personally involved, taking active action, No, but I began to understand what was going on, but at the same time, say here again, you know, what your parents said was law, you know, don't you get involved in that, but the fact that you all get hurt, and, you know, and I'm gonna do this over, you know, so that was the attitude that
That you had to take
that
it.
we had to take, so we'd allow that.
And your sister was in charge, you had mom and your sister.
Right, that was it, there was no negotiations on this, no compromise, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, May the 2nd, at school, there was some of the faculty had this big demonstration, everybody was going. And they believed the word was out that we gonna leave the campus at high noon.
Okay.
And,
Where were you in school at that time?
At Carver High School.
Okay.
And I guess that I don't know whether I don't know what position that he had. He was like the organizer of this at Carver. There was a guy named Skip. I can't think of his last name. Skip. He lived in college. I think his name was Skip. I can't remember his
Okay,
last name.
that's okay.
And so this was a word, and we were now last Westfield High School, and so we said, well, okay, you want to go with us? Yeah, no, why not? That's not what it amounted to. Everybody was going, so I'm going too. You know,
Yeah.
they were saying everybody's going, the school's going, and so forth, and you must stand for your rights and so forth. So I said, well, you know, why not? That was this attitude I had on this.
Yeah.
And I would ask one of the instructors, which was also a good friend of the families of mine, so his name was J.C. Johnson.
Okay.
And I asked Mr. Johnson, what should I do? He said, Clifton, he said, I can't tell you because of the fact we just cannot do it.
Yeah.
You know, and I can understand his position now, but the fact that it had to be, it was better for us to do it than for them to do it. I can understand sort of now why the decision was made to put kids out there versus the adults.
Yeah, because the adults, what they would lose their jobs and
Exactly.
have to be incarcerated, I'm sure, much longer.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And they had much more leverage on them as far as, you know, they had loans on houses and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
They had jobs, and I can understand the reason for it now. At one point, I did not see it that way. But he said, you have to decide on your own. So I decided to go. And we walked off campus at 12 noon. We walked to I think it was St. Luke Church.
So do you remember from where the school was located to where the church, was it a block, 5 blocks? Or
I guess it's
any
about,
idea how long it may have taken to get there?
it's about a mile and a half to 2 miles, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
St. Luke Church on 25th Avenue, I think it was.
Okay, so you went to the church, you walked to the church. And then what happened once you got there?
Then we got rides down to 16th Street Church, 16th Street Baptist Church.
Oh, okay. And that's where the march is going to take place?
Right.
So what do you remember about the march and how did you feel? Did you get locked up?
Well, I was sort of worried about what was going to be said when I walked off the campus.
Mm-hmm.
This was a no-no. School was very important, and this was part of the reason she was saying was like involved. You got your last year of school, you got to finish school, you put out of school. They said they were going to put the kids demonstrate to put them out of school and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a concern of hers also. It's my last year of school, and so of high school, this was concerned. So I was a little concerned. I think my biggest concern during this time from the walk from Carmel High School to the time we got to 63 Baptist Church was what was Ruth going to say. And by the way, at this particular time, Ruth had went to Cincinnati to find us a house.
Okay.
She had decided to make the move, and she was in Cincinnati this time.
Getting everything set up, and you weren't worried about that. Is the plan going to be there? There's going to be shooting or whatever. You're thinking, oh my God, I left school. What am I going to do? What am I going to say? What's she going to do to me?
When she come back,
Yeah.
you know, what's going to happen when she comes back? You know, I already walked out of school. This is my main concern.
Okay.
And when we got to 16th Street Church, they had an orientation, told us no, what not to say anything, to say no comment, get no name, address, or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember just by coincidence, one of the girls from my class in Cunningham,
Mm-hmm.
we ended up sitting together something, we ended up getting a sign together, that what it amounted to.
Okay.
And we was about one of the first groups, what's like my recollection, out of the church. and we was going to march in the city hall.
Okay.
And when we came out of the church door, I think that's when my concern switched from the fact of what's Ruth going to say, what are these police and these white folks in the street going to do?
Mm-hmm. What are they going to do to me? To us.
Right, to us. Because here again, we had a high respect, a fear of police for the fact we knew what they could do.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you know, at that time, the police in Birmingham, they had no remorse about brutality. They just assumed, you know,
They're going to shoot you or whatever.
right, and nothing was said about it. You know, they would just stop people for speeding or something, and they are form of justice. They would tell them to stick your head in one or something and roll up on the guy's head and beat the guy on the head.
Oh my.
This is the type of stuff that they did whenever the police came. Most of the time, they beat you up anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So violence was a part of their operation against blacks. So this was a great fear when I came out of the church. It was like, no, what now?
Yeah, what are you going to do next?
Right.
So you got out there, you got to the church, and you went to City Hall, and were you arrested? And if so, who do you think set that order?
I have seen TV, Bull O'Connor on TV,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew what he looked like. And it was always something that was, you know, he was saying what people would not do, he was not allowed in the city or so.
Mm-hmm.
And we was supposed to go to City Hall, and I do not know how far I know we got close to City Hall.
Okay.
But I remember, and one thing I remember the first time I was seeing Dr. King in person.
Mm-hmm.
And he came out of the street in a car.
Okay.
There was about 4 of them in the car, I think it was about 4 in the car. And he told whoever was leading us to go a certain way, gave some instructions.
Oh, okay.
And that was the first time I ever seen I seen on TV and the papers was pronounced Dr. King. So I said, there's Dr. King. But this time, my concern is not Dr. King. My concern is, you know, these police ride along the side of us.
Sure.
And we got to one point, and they told us to stop. They told us to get up on the sidewalk. And I guess the police were like confused what to do with, you know, 5,200, you know, little black kids.
Yeah.
And this car pulled up, and this guy jumped out, and it was Bull O'Connor.
Oh my goodness.
And he said, "Arrest them niggas."
Is that what he said? And how did you feel? I mean, it's a very emotional time, and you know, and I can see that in your face, and we see how far we've come. But then, as you were saying, it's like it was just yesterday. How did you?
Well, it's, you know, like fear. Well, they had paddy wagons there.
And that's the
And
police cars.
I guess
trucks.
fear sets in at a point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you really figure now something's really going to happen. And I remember, you know, like I said, the whole time in the church, the time we got stopped and so forth, till he got the car and so forth. I remember Ann and I was holding a sign, and we both scared to death.
Mm-hmm.
And they was trying to take the sign, but she just holds like in her fears. And we was kids.
Yeah, it should, because the things that you'd heard about and read about and seen about
Right, you know,
people,
we have
the
seen
bombings and all that.
the brutality during the Freedom Riders and so forth. We've seen this on TV and pictures on paper, you know. So you felt, it never concerned me until I was actually involved in it, until I was there, you know, like, you know. And it was an experience that I never would forget.
And you saw Bull O'Connor, I mean, that's like,
Yeah, you know, it's like,
to some people, it's like seeing the devil.
oh, that's what it was, you know. Here, you know, I mean, we have seen the devil. He jumped out the car and said, you know, arrest him, you know. And I'll give him the paddy wagon. He said, arrest him, get him off the street, give him the paddy wagon.
So,
And they separated us, the boys and the girls, and they loaded us in a paddy wagon, you know. They just put us, they get in there, they just loaded us all in the paddy wagon. They had the paddy wagon, a little small, like a pickup truck,
mm-hmm.
you know.
But except it was enclosed.
It was enclosed,
Mm-hmm.
it was in this pickup truck. And they took us to the jail, they bagged us in, and told us all to get out. And they marched us in this place, I guess it was a cell or holding area.
Mm-hmm.
And it consisted of, it had 3 sections to it. It had one part of the thing, they had like beds in it. I think it had beds in it. And it had one part of just an open area with a few tables in the middle and so forth. And you went outside into a courtyard.
Okay.
Open courtyard. And that's where they put us. And it was in, when we got there, but still like, I remember Skip, this guy named Skip, I can't think of his last name.
Mm-hmm. That's okay.
Like he was a class president of Carver in 19 and May that year.
Mm-hmm.
And he more took charge or something,
Yeah.
Don't worry, so forth, they get us out. Nothing gonna happen as long as we stick together. There's nobody told you, don't know names and so forth, and so we're going on.
And reinforcement. So how long did you stay there?
We stayed there, I think it was about 3 or 4 days, I think.
Oh my God. So I know now, wondering when are we gonna get out? Is somebody gonna come and get us or?
Well, yeah, that was, in a minute, they're saying, well, they're gonna get us out. So the first, well, they didn't. I remember also in that cell came with Dr. A.D. King.
Oh, that's Reverend King, John King's brother.
A.D. King's brother was put in the cell with us.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talk to us and so forth. And said, don't worry, we'll get you out.
Mm-hmm.
Go home and so forth, and I'm thinking, well, this, and then it turned into like a festive atmosphere for some reason.
Yeah.
But the fact that all your friends,
Yeah.
all my classmates were there, looked around here to my cousins there. So we all in Clifton, Clifton Hop was there, and Vincent Casey was there, so all my friends there, and kids over to school and so forth. So it's like a party atmosphere, for extent.
But did you, how was the food?
We didn't eat the first day. Some of the trustees came around selling candy bars for some inflated price, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I think I might have bought a candy bar with that little money I had or something.
Mm-hmm.
But that was it. And we didn't eat that day. And I think it was about the second day, they finally took us down to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget it. They gave us something like, it looked like baked beans, but it was a little slimy, and some bread. And I'll never forget this guard, it was like a trustee.
Uh-huh.
He was black, he said, hey, y'all want some lemonade? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, eat the food. And in these aluminum pitchers was water.
Okay.
So,
that was your lemonade.
That was our lemonade. So we stayed there like about 3 or 4 days. Then they transferred us to the jail on 6th Avenue.
Okay. Now, which jail were you in now?
We was at the city jail downtown 19th Street.
Okay, and then they put you on 6th Avenue.
Paddy wagon.
Okay.
And took us to 6th Avenue.
Okay.
So I guess my distinguished moment in Birmingham was I was the first group of people in the 6th Avenue jail over there. I knew the jail.
It was new then, yeah.
We were the first one, and it wasn't even completed with construction yet.
Oh, okay.
And then the cell we were in, so it was brand new, so it never been used. So
Okay.
it was on the top floor, so I can literally say I was the first prisoner in that jail.
And after that, I would imagine, though, on the serious side, that it was very traumatic, as you've indicated. But what did that teach you about demonstrations and past demonstrations about getting in trouble? Being a part of a demonstration was not getting in trouble, that was being a part of the movement and making a difference. But would you say that being incarcerated, those 2 places, that I'll never get in trouble?
The man, Bull Connor is my hero.
Okay.
I have not been back to jail since for nothing. If someone I know they're arrested for speeding anything, call me to come get them out of jail, I will call them an attorney. I will send them money by Western Union, but I am not going. Even stretch a little bit further, I went to participated in the March on Washington.
Yes.
Sure how this went. We got into like this. Let's say there was 350,000 some people there, and it was unique how it went. And when they started marching, and we got to where there was policemen and so forth, I got behind.
So it really is very, very deep with you.
Right, so I'm not. I wasn't going to jail no more.
Yeah.
I mean, I stayed in jail 9 days.
Mm-hmm.
And at a time I wanted to know if I would ever get out. Just to thought,
Sure.
Say after a while, everybody getting to wonder how they gonna keep us in here.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like I said, we didn't give them their names, and since I found my uncles, they came down there to get us out. They couldn't find us.
They had no names.
No name. And the same thing as my brother. Now they took my brother, I understand, to the state fairground.
Yes.
We was going to the same school, but I guess he got a group behind me or something. I didn't see him. I didn't know he was in jail.
Okay.
And at the same time, I'm wanting to know what is Ruth want to say when I do get out. Maybe it's best I stayed in here.
Yeah.
So it was pretty traumatic, and for her it was worse over the fact she was in Ohio, and she saw this stuff on TV and so forth. It was going in Birmingham, and then she called home, and her husband, which was Brady, which also helped raise us. Brady told us, they haven't came home. The two boys haven't came home. Mickey and call him Mickey, and I was brother. Mickey and brother haven't came home. So James here, so she immediately called a train or plane or something right back to Birmingham.
Yeah.
Right there.
Before we run out of time, when you look back at that, I know you lived abroad in Germany.
Yes.
When you look at the lifestyle in Germany, and even maybe kind of read and thought back about how it was in Germany during that time, and then being in the United States, what do you think, and how is life there in Germany? And what do people think about Birmingham?
One of the interesting things that I saw, I went to Germany first time in 1990 as a tourist. And Checkpoint Charles, most people haven't heard of it, was one of the checkpoints they had between the East Germany and West Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a museum there now. And in one room of this museum, the museum is actually about the Berlin Wall.
Yes.
The escape attempts, people that got killed and so forth, the various ways that they escaped and so forth, and fake bottom cars and baskets and you name it. But one room of this, they have a display of the civil rights movement. Another amazing thing about this, when I first saw it, was just shocking, was the fact most of the pictures and most of the documentation they have there is about Birmingham.
Okay.
They show 16th Street Baptist Church. They got pictures of the four girls, pictures of Land Park, pictures of Martin Luther King. But most of the photos are actually from Birmingham.
Okay.
And I still haven't made the correlation between how only this is in this museum, which is actually dedicated to their struggle to get the wall out.
Perhaps it's about struggles across the world.
Well, I guess the struggle in Birmingham was the epitome of all struggles.
Yes.
As far as injustice and inequality and so forth. So what I have found now, there's still, people discuss the racism of the skinheads in Germany now. It's not, the difference of being there, this is the difference of being there, it's not a prejudice against people as a color. It's more like a nationalism type situation.
Mm-hmm.
Where the fact I think it's beginning to change. The same thing here in the States, when you start having problems with the economical socially, they gotta find somebody to blame this on,
Yeah.
or some reason.
Mhm.
So there, they think that the demise of their economy is due to the Auslanders, which is foreigners. So any prejudice I experience is not because I'm black, because I'm an Auslander. So that doesn't bother me. Because in the first place, I don't like the fact that anything that happens there, it's like gratis anyway. They don't owe me anything.
Mhm.
But the fact here in America, I think I have a right and I'm entitled to total equality.
Sure.
So that's the difference in say in the problems that I would experience here and the problems that I would experience there. They treat everything all else as you're German or you're an Auslander. It's that simple.
One last question, I think, before we end, and you may have a comment after the question. When you see the Civil Rights Institute, and when you see the different things here, you're here in Birmingham, and you know what happened to you and what you experienced, what do you think of the Institute? Part one of the question. And what would you say to young people, and older ones for that matter, who have not come to the Institute?
What would I say to young people? First off, I think young people do not, I want to spend 9 days in jail.
Yeah.
But when you think about the little girls, people like, I always hear people like Emmett Till.
Yes, from Mississippi. And
Mississippi. There was a kid that probably nobody forgot except those that know him. A kid named Wallace Lightner, Wallace Hope
Mm-hmm.
in the neighborhood. He was shot and killed on 26th Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Something that was never totally explained. When you think about these people these incidents more or less brought to light and was actually the catalyst.
People gave their lives.
Gave their lives.
Mm-hmm.
You look at Medgar Evers, look at the worker that was killed in Philadelphia and so forth.
And the move of Philadelphia, Mississippi.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the saddest part about this, I think that we dropped the ball in the 70s. I say I'm from my generation. A lot of us thought we had arrived. We was able to go to schools, get good educations, got decent jobs,
Mm-hmm.
made decent money, but we once forgot about everything else. And then one day we woke up one day and realized the fact that we really had only went a couple of steps up. We had not reached the top.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I think we're most coming to reality now that what we did not do. And I see the same thing again. I think the ball is being dropped now, and we're past that stage. We know the fact that we did not reach the glass tower, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Glass ceiling, yeah. But so then you're saying when you look at the Institute and those people who've gone on before who made it possible for us, then at this point we've dropped the ball, but we need to pick it up and help others. And
Right. That's the main thing. Sure.
okay.
I think we as black people,
Mm-hmm.
and I've heard the statement saying, I'm doing just like a white man just did.
Yeah.
So the white man abused us, and now we're abusing each other. The white man that you say did not share information with us, kept us in the dark about our stuff, we're doing that ourselves now. We must share information. I mean, I don't mean necessarily resources, not necessarily money, but if you know somebody that can help someone,
Do it.
tell them. Let them find the best way they can.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. And finally, what do you think of the Institute?
I think it was. I'm very impressed with it. I'm very proud of it. I'm proud to be a part of it. What little that I contributed and so forth. And I think yes, if the younger generation realize what people have went through to get where they are now, you can go to any school you want to go to now.
Mm-hmm.
You go to Alabama, do they want to do it at University of Alabama? I remember when George Wallace did the doors that niggas were not coming here.
Mm-hmm.
So, but somebody paid blood. Malone and the guy's name, they took the abuse to get for where they are now. So I think it's just that if they could get an appreciation of what was sacrificed for them to be where they are now, then they may be more responsible and be more productive and take more advantage of it in a positive way.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.